and today I want to show you how to make milk kefir. My wife and I have been doing this, oh man, for quite a few years, and you just keep using the same kefir grains over and over. And if, as long as you don't do something to get them out of their normal activity, they'll just last forever. They keep producing more kefir grains. And you can do one of two things with those kefir grains. You can either, from time to time, you can do three things. You can throw them away, the extra grains. You can eat them just to add a little bit more probiotics. That, you know, it's like a gummy, but with no good flavor to them. Or you can share them with a friend and make an extra kefir. And that's what I'm doing today. We have kefir here, and so this kefir has gone through the process, and so we're going to go ahead and open it up. We leave a coffee filter on top with a rubber band, which means it can breathe, but it also keeps insects out. And so anyway, we have the kefir. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to stir it, and I always go around the edge and just knock down the line of kefir along the top and along the bottom. Stir the bottom a little bit, and then clean off the kefir grains from my spoon. Put it in the glass, and then this is like what, about a 5 or 6 inch nylon net. It's really best to use a nylon net and not a stainless steel or any other metal. It has something to do with the vibration when you're processing the kefir grains. And so what we're going to do is we have our little net. We're going to hold over top of our glass, and so we just pour it in there. And then we're going to take our spoon, which is handy now, and we're just going to work the bottom of the net and let the kefir flow down through, and what's that's leaving behind are the kefir grains. Okay, and so you just work a little bit. You can see at my 8-ounce glass, it's a wide mouth glass, which makes it easy not to spill kefir when you're doing the grains. But I just like working the kefir out of it. Now what I do, and it's probably not at all necessary, but what I do is I rinse off these kefir grains, and you probably don't have to do that, but it's just something I do. So I don't want hot water, I just want cold or warm water, and that's what I do, just rinse them. And of course today it's going to help you to see what they look like. Okay, those are rinsed well, and I'll just drain them in the sink. And the next thing I'm going to do is take some hot water and rinse out my glass jar. I have it marked at 8 ounces, and so every day when I fill it up with milk, I just fill up that line. So when I'm handling the jar, I'm careful not to rub that off. So you can see my placement on my hands. And so I've got hot water in there, and I'll just take my fingers. There's usually a band of kefir right around the top here, and I just, get that off. And you can see you have a little bit here of the kefir grains, residues, but those won't hurt anything. I'll just leave the jar there to let the water drain to the bottom. I'm letting this drain, and in the meantime, I have my glass, and it has kind of a, from where I, kind of a froth kind of on the top of it. So I scoop it to the side, and then take it off. Usually takes 3 or 4. And then I just ran out of my Skinny Girl liquid stevia. They get at Walmart. Skinny Girl monk fruit, they used to have it at Walmart, but they stopped carrying it. And so now I go online on eBay, you can find people selling them like 10 packs, 10 of these, and it's, I like buying bulk, so I'll do that. So I just give a squirt. That was about a about a half a second squirt. And if I had the Skinny Girl Stevia, I would put in about half that much. And what I found is that 1 squirt of this and a half a squirt of the Skinny Girl Stevia, together they give a taste that's close to sugar. And that's a really nice taste. Now this is just going to have this, and it doesn't taste as good. And just the stevia doesn't taste as good. But when you put the two together, two parts monk and 1 part stevia, the Skinny Girl brand, I've tried other brands and the Skinny Girl seems to taste the best. That gives a really nice flavor. So I'll just stir it up. Stir in our sweetener. And then, while I'm draining my jar of every drop, I'm also draining my kefir grains.
You see what that looks like?
And this is what the kefir grains look like. If you feel them, they're kind of a spongy, kind of like a gummy.
Okay.
Okay. And what I'm doing today is I'm going to take these, and what happens is every day they multiply. And so what I usually do is I just put in the jar the usual amount. This is extra. And for 4 ounces, if we were to separate that out for 4 ounces, that's about the right amount, okay, for 4 ounces. So I'm going to take and I'm going to put those into my jar, okay, and that leaves some to start another jar, which is not going to have the full amount, sadly enough. So we're only going to do about half a batch in here. But I have a friend here who's going to take this home and start her own. So you can see about how much is in the bottom. That is about the normal amount for a 4 ounce batch of kefir. And this would be about the normal amount for a 2 ounce batch. Okay, so what we do is we use raw milk. Raw milk has all kinds of biologicals that are beneficial to the human body. So when we make our kefir with raw milk, it hasn't been pasteurized, it hasn't been homogenized, and you have all the goodness of all those biologicals in the kefir, as well as, they say 60 or 70 different cultures that come with these kefir grains. And so we're getting those, plus we're getting the cultures that are already in the milk, makes a wonderful kefir. This is actually the cream that we separate off when we get a gallon of milk. We'll let it sit a day and then separate off cream. So I'm going to put a little bit of cream just because I like that rich taste of having some cream in there.
Where do you get the raw milk and how do you separate it?
If you go online and just do a search on raw milk, there is a directory that you can find by doing a Google search that tells you where to find raw milk in your area.
And how do you separate it? Separate the cream?
Yes, let me show you in a minute how I separate it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and just top this up with raw milk that's actual milk. And I'm going to put some in here. And then we just put on our cover. It's a coffee filter, so it can breathe. Okay, I'm taking the nylon strainer and I'm cleaning it out. And I just clean it with hot water and just make sure that there's no little kefir grains in it. And then I just shake it out really good. And then I just put it up here. And I've been doing that for years. These nylon strainers, they seem fragile, but I've been using this one for years. I've never had to replace it. It's always done well. And I have my cream container, and I'm going to go ahead and wash that out. Wash it good. And I'm just going to sit it here to drain. Wash the lid to it. And I never really need to use soap because it's always in the refrigerator. So it's always refrigerated, and it does a pretty good job just washing it out with water. I'm going to grab a gallon of milk. Okay, this is a gallon of raw milk from a local farmer. In some states, it's illegal to buy raw milk, which is really sad. I mean, for 6,000 years, mankind has been drinking raw milk, and then suddenly we think we need to pasteurize it. There was a problem, in the 50s, and they wouldn't transport it, and it wasn't refrigerated well. But as long as it's refrigerated well, we refrigerate it and keep it cool all the time, so it's not a problem. But if you can see that the cream is here, this part is white, and this part is more of a milky color.
Mm-hmm.
And so what we're going to do is we're going to take that cream, and I made myself a little contraption. I took a jar lid and bent it like this, and then taped it with some white electrical tape so that it would hold this angle. Otherwise they tend to straighten out. And I took one of the caps from the raw milk, and I drilled a hole in it, and then used some epoxy to glue both sides of it to seal it. And this is how I get out my cream. Just take it and squeeze it out. And you'll see right there, it starts flowing funny. And that means we've reached the end of the cream. But there's still a little bit of cream, and so I just do a little bit at a time to get that little bit of cream that's left on top. And then you can just take this thing off, rinse it out both ways, rinse it out good, and then I keep this in the freezer. So I never have to worry about any problem with this because it's always frozen. I just keep it in the freezer, and I've got my milk, and I'll just shake it a little bit to get any cream off the top and make it part of the milk. Put that in the refrigerator, and I've got my cream that I'll use tomorrow in making my kefir. I'll just put that in the refrigerator here, and this is my kefir. It's ready to drink. And what I will normally do is I get a total of about 7 ounces, and I already skimmed off a little bit off the top, and I just wash the spoon in hot water and wipe it off really good. And it makes it so I don't have any dishes to do. But what I'm going to do today, instead of splitting this with my wife, I'm going to split it with my friend who's here. We'll both have a little bit of it. And so let me just, with this sweetener, it doesn't do as well without the blend of the stevia and the monk fruit. It really does better to have that blend. So right now this tastes just a little bit funny. It doesn't taste as good as normal, but it's not bad. If you take it without the sweetener, it's a little bit pucker power, and so we always like to use the sweetener. So there's our kefir, and what I do is that we just keep it in our pantry, and so we just set it in here, and once a day we come in and get out our kefir, and we get out our kombucha, and take out whatever we need. The kefir, you make it once a day. If you go for 18 hours, it's going to have a pretty strong taste to it. It's going to have some real pucker power. If you go 2 days, whoa, it's really strong. And yeah, I wouldn't go more than 2 days. If you go more than 2 days, then your kefir grains are going to die because they're out of food. And so if you have to go on vacation, you can just get a lid and seal it and take it with you and make it every day, which is the best thing to do. But if you don't want to do that, then you make a fresh batch and put it in the refrigerator, and it will keep for about a week without the kefir grains dying. If you try to go more than a week, you'll probably lose your kefir grains and have to get some more. And so what I like to do is just take it on vacation. I have lost my kefir grains once, and the way you know you lost them is when you go to make kefir, nothing happens. 24 hours later, you still have milk. Okay, and right now, obviously, this is it's working. And so, even though in making kefir, I like to use raw milk. You don't have to use raw milk. You can just use regular milk. You don't need cream. You can make it with just regular milk, and that works fine. Make sure that you get milk kefir grains and not water kefir grains, because they're a totally different animal. And so you get some milk kefir grains. You can buy those online, or you can get them from a friend. And usually when you buy them online, you have to make a batch or two where you throw away the kefir until the grains kind of warm up and start acting normally. But once you've done a couple batches, then the kefir grains will work fine. So yeah, you can use regular milk, and a good temperature for kefir is 68 degrees to 76 degrees, anywhere in that temperature range. Okay, so when we sweeten the kefir, what I found, the monk fruit, like I said, 2 parts monk fruit, Skinny Girl, and 1 part stevia, Skinny Girl. When you sweeten it, what you'll find is if you don't put enough, it's just a little bit tart. And if you put too much, it gives it kind of an ucky taste. And so just experience will show you how much to put in. Like I say, about a half a second squirt of the monk and about just a quick squirt of the stevia. 2 parts monk, 1 part stevia. You'll get it down pretty quick to how much tastes good. And what I found is just really funny. When there's too many kefir grains in the jar, it'll have a stronger taste. And when there's not enough, it'll have a weak taste. So even the amount of kefir grains, you regulate the taste of the kefir. And about once every couple weeks, I'll get a batch or two that turn out perfect. Okay, and I put just the right amount of sweetener in them, had just the right amount of kefir grains, and the taste was just really nice. But unfortunately, I haven't gotten that down to where it's consistent. I'll keep working on it. But anyway, if it tastes strong, it just means you're getting more probiotic. And if it tastes weak, it means you're just getting less probiotic. And you can actually leave the kefir grains in there for less time for a lighter tasting kefir, or for more time for a stronger tasting kefir. So you can do it according to taste, and whatever you can tolerate. I mean, if you want to let it go a day and a half at a time, that will give you a stronger probiotic. So that's up to you.